You won't learn! You won't learn!
What's going on, Tar Heel Nation? It is your favorite North Carolinian, Russ the Tar Heel. And in this episode, we're going to be previewing the number 19 North Carolina season opener against the Radford Highlanders out of the Big South Conference. So welcome to this new basketball series that I'm calling Know Your Enemy. But before we get into the details about the home and season opener, I want you to stop what you're doing right now. Go ahead and push that subscribe button, smash the like button, and I want you to share this content. If you are a Tar Heel or if you're just a college basketball fan, this is going to be a great place for you to come as we gather together to navigate this 23-24 season. The channel is rapidly growing, so come be a part of the Tar Heel Nation family. Now let's look at the enemy. So this is Radford's third season under head coach Darius Nichols, who led the team to a 21-15 record last season. Radford placed third in the Big South regular season standings, and it made a trip to the Big South tournament semifinals. They were invited to the CBI, which is the College Basketball Invitational, and they beat Tarleton State and San Jose State, gaining multiple postseason victories for the first time in school history. Now, Brian Smith and Daquan Antoine were voted to the first team Big South, and they were picked to finish second in the Big South preseason conference poll. Now, Brian Smith was named to the All-Big South second team last year. He averaged 13.9 points per game on 40.4% shooting, as well as 3.3 rebounds, 1.7 assists, and 1 steal a game. Daquan Antoine averaged 11.4 points per game on 47.9% shooting and a 42.1% three-point clip, which gave him all Big South honorable mention honors. He also averaged 2.9 rebounds, 1.4 assists, and he stole a team-high 52 steals on the season. Now, the Radford Highlanders pulled away late to defeat Roanoke College 89-72 in their preseason exhibition. Sophomore guard Kenyon Giles led all scorers with 22 points. He shot the ball 8 for 14, so he was 8 for 14 shooting. He also went 3 for 5 from beyond the arc with 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal. 6'7", 210-pound Bowling Green transfer, forward and graduate student Chandler Turner also played well. He scored 21 points against Roanoke College on 6 for 8 shooting from the floor to go along with his 7 rebounds. Now, 6'2", 180-pound junior guard Truth Harris came off the bench. He gave the Highlanders 9 points, but he also led the team with 9 rebounds. So that's pretty interesting as a guard to lead the team in rebounding. Now, let's talk about those mighty Tar Heels from North Carolina. The Heels are led by head coach Hubert Davis, who led the Tar Heels last year in what was honestly a very disappointing 20-13 record, which was only 1 year removed from that trip to the national championship game where they should have beat Kansas, in my humble opinion. They had like a 16-point lead at halftime and blew it, but that was still a terrific run, especially in Hubert's first year as head coach. Now, last year, though, following up that national championship game appearance where they were supposed to come back and run the table, preseason number 1, etc., UNC missed the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2010. And due to that preseason number 1 ranking, the high expectations, and the low outcome of the season, the team unanimously decided to forego postseason play. They didn't accept an NIT bid. They didn't accept a CBI bid. They just said, hey, we're going to take our Legos. We're going to take our ball. we're going to go home. We're not playing anymore. Whether you agree with that or not is up in the air. That's what the Heels did. So UNC was hit with a lot of transfers out of the program, including highly touted guard Caleb Love, who was the hero of the 2022 Final Four against Duke. But the Heels made waves in the transfer portal. They brought in the lights of 6'7", 235-pound junior forward Harrison Ingram from Stanford, 6'8", 240-pound forward James Okonkwo from West Virginia, 6'5", 185-pound senior guard Cormac Ryan from Notre Dame, 6'9", 215-pound senior forward Jalen Withers from Louisville, and 6'5", 195-pound senior guard Paxson Wojcik from Brown. The North Carolina Tar Heels also welcome in highly touted 6'1", 180-pound freshman guard Elliot Cadeau, who just, screamed to me. He screamed to me Ed Cota. That guy was breaking ankles, putting people on the deck. He was blowing by guards and just rocking the rim. It's a freshman, and he was hooping. So I'm excited to watch Elliot Cadeau, obviously. But don't forget about 6'9", 225-pound freshman forward Zayden High. Now, interestingly enough, Elliot Cadeau was picked as the preseason ACC Rookie of the Year with 40 out of 51 votes. And now, for the returning stars. At 6'11", 240 pounds, a grad forward / center from Richmond, Virginia, by way of the IMG Academy in Florida, Armando Bacot. Y'all like that? Armando Bacot is a preseason first-team All-ACC selection, and he is also selected as a preseason first-team All-America. Bacot is coming off of a season in which he averaged 15.9 points per game to go along with his 10.4 rebounds and 1.4 assists. He also shot 55.4% from the field, and Armando Bacot is UNC's all-time leader in double-doubles with 68, and UNC's all-time rebound leader with 1,335. So don't forget, this is Armando Bacot's last year, and you are literally watching a legend. This is a guy that will forever be remembered, for his great years as a Tar Heel, and he's trying to go out with a bang. Same guy that said, hey, I would die for this university. Obviously, he's being facetious, but this thing means a lot to Armando, and I'm excited to watch him in his last year in Carolina Blue. Now, also, at guard, a 6', 180-pound senior from White Plains, New York, by way of Archbishop Stepinac, R.J. Davis. You guys still like that? R.J. averaged 16.1 points per game to go along with 5.1 rebounds and 3.2 assists. He shot 43.8% from the field and 36.2% from beyond the arc. And RJ somehow, some way, was snubbed from any preseason accolades. I can't think and believe it. The kid in the exhibition game, nasty. And we'll talk about that here in just a second. But, if RJ has any kind of season like what he, showed against in the exhibition game against St. Augustine's, good night, son. Watch out. They're going to realize that they snubbed them real quick. So now, North Carolina was picked to finish third in the ACC regular season poll by the preseason polls, and they picked up one first-place vote. UNC will be looking to obviously exercise the demons of the 22-23 season and get off to a hot start. But they didn't wait. Oh, no, they didn't wait for November 6th. UNC hosted the St. Augustine's Falcons from down the street in Raleigh, and they put on an absolute show. RJ Davis, who we just got finished talking about, my man had like 17 points in the first 6.5 minutes. First 6.5 minutes, he was just banging threes. I mean, the kid's stroke looked real good. Didn't even matter if the pass was straight to him. He was picking them up off the deck and banging them. So that was really good to see. And the Heels banged in 16 three-pointers to absolutely batter the Falcons 117-53. And like I was talking about Elliot Cadeau, there was a play where he's at the top of the key and he just gives him a real quick left to right and goes to the bucket, breaking ankles. And then the next thing you know, he's just blowing by guards for a one-handed jam. I mean, I'm really excited about watching Elliot Cadeau, man. I am really excited about watching Elliot Cadeau, and it just enables RJ to sometimes kind of play off the ball. And I think that we're going to see his three-point percentage go up because of that. That'll be interesting to see as well. And then obviously, Mondo had another double-double, wouldn't you know. So the Heels looked like a complete team. So it's going to be interesting to see how they transition with all the new pieces against the Highlanders in their season opener. So what does Russ want to see in this game? Well, let's look at a couple things. Number one, Coach Davis needs to utilize his bench. This is obviously one of those things that people have knocked Coach Davis for. For whatever reason, whether it's just a lack of talent or a lack of faith in these some of these kids that have been on the bench in his first 2 years to come in and compete at the same level. Hey, that's between him and those kids. He's the coach, and he knows more than I do, right? Well, the Heels were gassed towards the later stages of the 22-23 season as the starters were logging tremendous amounts of minutes per game. It's hard to give your all on the defensive side of the ball when you can't be spelled. You know what I mean? When you're dribbling and you're driving and you're moving and you're cutting, and then you have to give that same energy back and forth, you can only sustain that for so long, even if you're in really good shape. So being able to come in for spurts and give your all, and then be able to have a bench that can come in and replace and give you some productive minutes is huge. So I want to see Coach Hubert Davis utilize that bench. I want to see him get some of these guys a little bit of a spell so they can come in and play really good on the defensive side of the ball, because they did play well defensively against St. Augustine's. Obviously, it's a lower-level CAA school. I get it. But it was still good to see them sharing the basketball and playing so well defensively and talking. And we'll talk about some of those defensive characteristics right here in the next one. But like I said, I'm interested to see how Coach Davis utilizes the bench. Number two. Now, another interesting perspective that I want to see is in the exhibition game, Carolina was switching on ball screens. So if you remember last season, the screen game killed us, man. People were picking and rolling us to death, and we weren't really responding to it very well. And, the defender had to choose. Am I going to go underneath and let this guy pop out for an easy three? Or am I going to follow him over the top and let him cut to the basket, which obviously creates a help side defense need, and then you're always going to have somebody open as long as people are actually passing the ball. So it's interesting to see. I don't know if they were just kind of messing with that, or if that's something that we're going to see throughout the remainder of the season, or they might just split it down the middle. Sometimes they switch, sometimes they don't. It just depends on what kind of defensive set they're in. But I really liked what I saw from them communicating on those switches. So, that will be an interesting aspect to see, the switching on the ball screens, and to see if that trend actually continues. And the third thing that I want to see is I want to see North Carolina set the tone and start fast. It was great to see the Heels get out into transition against St. Augustine's, and they even utilized the secondary break to score some quicker points, right? So a lot of times last year, what I noticed is that we ran a lot of set plays. Maybe that's because we were trying to slow down the game for a lack of depth. I don't know. But it seemed like North Carolina was very adamant about pushing the ball up the floor. Maybe it's because you got an Elliot Cadeau now. I don't know. But that's what leads to scoring 117 points against an inferior opponent. So Radford should have some problems matching up with North Carolina's size, and it'll also be good to work inside out when we do get into our offensive sets and get Mondo some touches down on the blocks, maybe even get to the free throw line and start racking up some fouls on the few bigs that they do have. Now, basketball, if you've been following me for a while, it's going to be a little bit different. Football, usually what we do is a prediction in which I will actually predict the final score of the game. But in this instance right now, without really watching this team play and just kind of the ups and downs of basketball, what I'm looking at right now is, and we'll talk about it later if we end up changing this, but we'll look at how many points do I think Carolina will win or lose by. Okay, so last year, Radford averaged 69.3 points per game, and they gave up an average of 64.8 points per game, which is a margin of victory of 4.5. Remember, they went 21-15 on the season. Now, the North Carolina Tar Heels didn't have the greatest season last year, obviously, but for all intents and purposes, this looks like it's a different UNC basketball team with all of the transfers that we got in that have experience. And we have some really good, highly touted freshmen. So I like the Heels in this one to start the season in the Dean Dome in Chapel Hill and handle business in their home/season opener. And I like them to win by a healthy 25 points. 25 points. North Carolina, I want to see them score in the 90s. And I think that they're going to win this one convincingly. And it's going to slowly start to build that camaraderie, that teamwork that these guys are going to need to build this year in order to make a deep run. I think this is a talented basketball team. I really do. I needed to see it a little bit, but what I saw against St. Augustine's, you obviously got to take it with a grain of salt because of the level of competition, but Carolina was talking well. They were switching on ball screens. They were shooting the ball well. Their post entries looked really well. I mean, obviously, you're going to clean up a little bit of things in the first game of the season, but North Carolina looked really, really good. So it should be an exciting season, Tar Heel fans. I mean, basketball season is finally here. Now, don't forget, if you didn't know already, if you're just one of those, I'm an only Carolina basketball fan, we will be going live right here on the Tar Heel Huddle November 6th. At 6:45 p.m., so make sure you come hang out with your boy as the North Carolina Tar Heels christen the season against the Radford Highlanders. Remember, like, share, and subscribe. Support your fellow Tar Heel. Hit that notification bell that will let you know every time that I make a video about these mighty North Carolina Tar Heels. And keep a lookout for the reaction videos that come out right after that. And let's show YouTube what Tar Heel Nation is all about, baby. It is finally basketball season, bro. Let's go. Will it be another banner hanging on the wall? We'll just have to see. We'll catch you on the next one, Tar Heel Nation.